Hi, I'm here with Prue from Blackrock. You're based in Hong Kong, and your role, you're the head of investment stewardship. So just what does that mean?
Okay. Well, Blackrock, as you know, is a very large asset manager with over $6 trillion US under management. So we're invested in a lot of companies. And our role is to sit on top of all the investment strategies and engage with boards about issues that are for the longer term. So environmental, social and governance issues. And we believe if these issues are managed well, companies are likely to perform better in the longer term.
And there's a debate around this, I guess, with academics and others who would say, no, that's not really your job. Your job is a fund manager just to get the best return, isn't it? Why are you getting involved in all these kind of social issues?
Well, firstly, we have a fiduciary duty to our clients to do this. And secondly, a lot of our clients are pension funds with very long-term investment horizons. So we are long-term shareholders. Due to the passive nature of our investments, selling is not an option. So we find ourselves invested in companies that don't have great practices, and my team engages with those companies to try and encourage change,
Right.
Because that should result in longer term performance.
So it's an interesting argument. It's more the force for good argument, I guess, because the head of BlackRock sent us letters as CEOs and boards to say exactly that point. Well, we can't come and go because $6 trillion. That's a lot. You pretty much own a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
So your way of influence is really to use that voting power and your ability to influence change as a force for good. Is that a kind of a summary of?
It can be used as force for good, but it's also to drive long-term sustainable returns. 3/4 of our clients are pension funds, so they're providing retirement benefits for their members.
Right.
So to have those returns, those financial returns, is very important, but they're not going to be achieved in the longer term if there's cost cutting that's going to impact environmental and social issues.
Right. And how do you think, so these issues, I guess, will be thought about differently in different parts of the world?
Yes.
Where do you think Australia and Asia are in the kind of evolution or maturity of thinking about this? And I know that's a broad question because we're all a bit different, but just generally.
I think Australian companies are quite well placed. I think we have good quality boards that understand stakeholder issues. They're not simply focused on short-term returns for shareholders. That's generally speaking. In Asia, it's quite different because a number of companies have block shareholders, either family or state. And so engagement with offshore investors, large international investors like Blackrock, is new to them. So we're at very early stages of engaging with a number of companies on these issues. Having said that, there is a lot of innovation around environmental issues and particularly around renewable power taking place in Asia, so there are a lot of opportunities there as well.
So before we started, I was talking to you about the issues and the causes that ANZ cares about, housing, financial wellbeing and the environment. One of the challenges we have is that, thinking, to your point, thinking in the long term, how do you sense emerging issues? Because, things change, don't they? Society's expectations, things that we care about today and are terribly important. Hopefully we get those resolved. How do you kind of sense what might be coming?
I think there's a lot of media around things. Companies are quite, as long as they're transparent around strategy. But looking forward, what are some of the key issues? And our team has 5 engagement priorities, which are really for the longer term. One is around the structure of the board and the quality of the board, having competent people, executive remuneration to ensure that that's fair. Climate change we see as a big issue globally that companies need to acknowledge. Also, talent management going forward and retaining good talent, I think, is a real challenge for companies. And when we look at the value of companies in these days, a lot of it is tied up in intangibles. And so it's a matter of boards and senior management identifying where those value propositions are that they need to manage to ensure long-term sustainable performance.
Yeah, you mentioned some stats before we started. Can you just repeat those? That was quite interesting about the intangibles.
In 1975, the academic research shows that in 1975, around 20% of the market cap value of listed companies was intangible. That's completely reversed. It's now around 80%. And that needs to be acknowledged by boards. They need to understand where those value drivers are. Is it in intellectual capital, human capital, social capital, and to ensure that that capital is managed and the value enhanced in the longer term for shareholders.